The idea for this week's cartoon was triggered by the bomb that exploded in the Green Zone, the most fortified part of Baghdad, which contains the Iraqi Parliament and the US Embassy. I prepared this blank canvas and I found this image that I'm going to be using for the cartoon. And what I have to do is replace the foreground image with the background, and the way that I can do this is by, first of all, I duplicate the image so that it's exactly the same as the basic image that I want, and then taking the lasso tool I can cut out parts of the background, and then by dropping it into the picture I can start to build over the top of the image so that the foreground is replaced by the background. So now, using the clone tool, I can start to obliterate the foreground image with the background. I think there are two strands that have led to the development of the modern day political cartoon. The first is usually traced back to William Hogarth and his engravings of modern moral subjects in the early 18th century. Although there was plenty of visual satire before Hogarth, especially around the time of the English Revolution during the reign of Charles I. He would be followed in a line of descent by the Scot James Gilray, whose political and social satire would be much closer to that of a modern-day political cartoonist, in which various politicians are ridiculed on a daily basis. The birth in 1841 of Punch, which was modelled on the French weekly satirical paper called the Charivari, led to a whole string of political cartoonists, including John Tenniel, who was the original illustrator of Alice in Wonderland. But it wasn't until the late 19th century that political cartoonists entered daily newspapers, and F.C. Gould was the first political cartoonist to produce a daily cartoon. Okay, well, I'm going to continue this rather laborious process, and I'll see you a bit later on. I've completed the removal of the foreground image, and I'm now going to use one of the hands from the original image. The second strand that has made up the development of the modern day political cartoon can be traced from Germany, where an avant-garde artist by the name of John Hartfield, who had anglicised his name from Herzfeld in order to demonstrate his opposition to xenophobia at the time of the First World War. He was part of a group of artists and writers called the Dadaists in Berlin in the early part of the 20th century, and he developed photomontage, which was the photographic construction or assemblage of images cut from newspapers and magazines, which would together create a new reality. Just going to scale up this hand now. Hartfield was a committed communist and member of the German Communist Party, and he worked for a workers' magazine called AIZ, which was seen by literally millions of people every week. Just going to remove some of the image surrounding the hand. Okay, well, I've found this image of a bottle that has been severely bent by being in a blast or in a fire, and I'm just going to add it to the picture to give a sense of the scale of the whole image. So just as the new technology enabled Hartfield to heighten the experience of a cartoon, today's digital images has allowed me to try and, in my own work, blend together the old tradition of political cartooning together with the developments in photography and the use of photomontage in the 20th century. Okay, welcome back, and welcome back to the subject of Iraq, because I want to pose a question to you, which is, what sort of government is it that would sign away 80% of its most vital natural resource to US and UK oil companies, as the Iraqi government will probably do next month? Surely this is a government that is a sham government. This cartoon is an attempt to bring together the two different strands of cartooning into one cartoon.